Oh, welcome in to the latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter. And I'm joined, as always, by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Balls on Twitter. What are you up to, you big Tennessee homer?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Oh, man. I was looking for content here, Shane, right before we hopped on the line, and wouldn't you know it, Mr. John Calipari drops a bomb on us. Thank goodness for old, what he's calling a basketball school up there in Lexington. How disrespectful is that?
Yeah, the hell, Hatfield McCoy, we got the damn basketball versus the football team up there in Kentucky, man. It's like a family feud.
Yeah, if you missed it, I mean, we'll throw it up here on the YouTube channel, but this is not, Shane and I just making something up. I mean, Mark Stoops seems like he's pissed. He's out here retweeting all these people saying that Kentucky's a football school. We got Vince Morrow, of course, tweeting. We can't have a Kentucky story without old Vince tweeting something. He's tweeting it out. The best one, though, I saw, Shane, I don't know if you've seen this one. Former Kentucky punter Max Duffy, he says, has the football team ever lost to St. Peter's in the NCAA tournament? Because we know Coach Cal has. So, oh, man, this is Kentucky eating its own up here, isn't it?
Golly. And I tell you, as you hate it. I mean, you absolutely hate it if you're a Kentucky fan. This is not the publicity you need, but, man, if you're not a Kentucky fan, this is the publicity you want.
Yeah, and everybody recruiting against Stoops on the recruiting trail.
Just came out of nowhere. Yeah, this is, again, you've got to work together. And it's that whole it's a basketball school, it's not anymore, man. I mean, when you keep putting up 10-win seasons, it's both, and I just like that Mark's finally saying, hey, okay, easy. Right. That may have worked 10 years ago, but it isn't working now because we are paying our own bills.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, I mean, this, fair or not, Shane, this is the perception that's outside of Lexington already, that Kentucky is just a basketball school. I get it. I do a lot of these interviews. They say, well, when is Kentucky going to start regressing? How long before Mark Stoops jumps to a bigger school? And this ain't helping when it's coming from within the building, where it's that outside perception is leaking into the building here. And I think that's why Mark Stoops and Vince Morrow and the rest of the program is so pissed. And I think they deserve the right to be.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And this is just, I don't know, maybe this is, we don't know what's going behind the scenes, but clearly these programs are not on the same page. You love to see when they are. I remember not too long ago, we would see Bruce Pearl up in the football stands. We'd see, other head coaches. What's his name was just down there at LSU, Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is what you need. You need these programs because you're advertising for them. When basketball recruits are up, they're taking them to football games, and when football recruits are up, you can take them to basketball games. It's you got to work together, and I understand Kentucky has got the stigma that it's a basketball program, and maybe they feel like they don't need the football team, but man, it's just not good for the brand.
No, it's definitely not. And I thought what you were going to say, Shane, is I remember wasn't that long ago they were, giving giveaways at the Walmart parking lot. Remember to get fans to show up to the games.
That's right.
But we've turned the corner. We've got Mark Stoops done a hell of a lot better job than John Calipari the last couple of seasons here with 2 10-win seasons. That is just incredibly difficult to do in today's SEC landscape on the gridiron. And hey, newsflash for Calipari, as great as a coach as he may be, and basketball is big up there in Kentucky, basketball makes about 25% of what football makes across the sports landscape of college. So
say that one more time and a little slower, Mike, so Calipari can hear this.
Basketball makes about 25% and this is a good program, on non-good programs, it's even less compared to 75% of the budget that football brings in. So, hey, keep running your mouth. And, hey, if push comes to shove, Shane, I hope it doesn't come to this for Kentucky's sake, but they may get to a point where they say, well, Mark Stoops or John Calipari. And as crazy as this may have been to say, 4 or 5 years ago, I think they would pick Mark Stoops because of what he's done to the football program and the future of that thing, whereas John Calipari has got all these recruits and he can't do a damn thing with them.
Mike, this is Cousin Shane. This ain't Paul Feinbaum. You can hold off on the hot takes here. I mean, do you really think that that's the case? I mean, obviously Kentucky basketball is not where, and this isn't we are a football podcast. We're not to kind of steal from Calipari. We are a one-trick pony here.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to get into basketball, but man, I don't think Kentucky fans are extremely pleased with the way that program has been going here of late. And I've heard rumblings of maybe we try something a little different up there. It should be an easy job to recruit for. So,
right.
Man, maybe you're not nuts there. I mean, if it came to, I'd love to put a poll up and see. But I would be curious if it push came to shove, if they had to get rid of one, do you take a program that has been in the bottom of the cellar? Man, Kentucky games, you gave tickets away. I hate to say it.
Right.
But growing up, if you wanted a free home game and then you found out it was a Kentucky, you're like, oh, okay, I see why it's free now. Now
right,
it's not like that. It's a freaking rivalry with a lot of programs, not just Tennessee, but the Louisvilles, but the Floridas. It's just they're competitive. But Mark took them from there. He took them from the basement and he's made them a competitive football program. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. And the basketball team, if you ask me, has taken a step back here the last few years. So you may be onto something here, man.
Yeah, and if I'm wrong about Kentucky, and hell, I probably will be, especially after I disrespected them, and now Calipari's disrespecting them. If they go out here and beat Florida and beat Tennessee and they finish second in the East,
yeah,
it's a no-brainer. Yeah, I would
That's right.
keep Stoops over Calipari, no doubt.
Or at least give him his parking spot, make his ass walk a little bit further in his fancy shoes,
Well, hey, Shay, we got to move on. We got news and notes across the SEC, but a real quick one, little injury update, Shane. Good news here. We were doom and gloom last episode for Florida receiver Ricky Parshall. It turns out he's now day-to-day. So he had a bone bruise, not going to be any kind of season-ending injury. Billy Napier set to meet with the media here on Monday to clear that all up. But, hey, it's looking good for old Ricky, the transfer from Arizona State to suit up for the Gators against Utah in a season opener. And, man, just a disaster averted here in Gainesville, it looks like.
Oh, my God. Could you imagine? To go from bad news to good news. This is great for the Florida Gators. And
it's almost like that, Shane, where, when you lose something and it's like, well, it's gone. I got to get over it. And then you turn around and you find it under the couch cushion. And it's, my God, that feeling of ecstasy. It was like, I'll never take you for granted again. That's where we're in Gainesville right now.
Mike, I ain't going to lie. It happened to me today. I was like, I'm doing a diet, right? It's Monday. It's not even Monday. It's a Thursday. It doesn't even matter what day it is. But I woke up. I went to work. It's my first day back. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do better. I'm going to eat better and all this stuff. And I get home and I'm like, golly, man, I really could go for an ice cream bar. And guess what I found in the back of the freezer? One fell out of the box. So I know exactly what the Gator fans are feeling right now. And I'm back on cloud nine. So no, this is great news. And you hate injuries. I ain't gonna lie, Mike. I absolutely hate injuries. If I could keep everybody safe and healthy, I would. But that is a part of college football. And it was such a crucial injury for the Florida Gators because we talked about it's a pivotal position. They're thin at that roster spot, and the fact that you may get them back sooner than later. I mean, this is big news for Florida.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, let's kick it on down, Shane, to Columbia, Missouri. Where last time, hey, we got a surprise from old Drink and the Tigers because we hopped off the line and they had already named Brady Cook starting quarterback right as we were winding down, and I swear we weren't drunk. We were just kind of acting like it. We had shut our brains off. We were reacting to the news. But now that we've had some time to digest and think about it, Shane, I went back and watched Missouri and the Army in the bowl game. Unfortunately, Missouri lost that game, but that was Brady Cook's only start of his career. And the main takeaway, Shane, Brady Cook, the game was not too big for him. And that's what I always look for in a young quarterback, how they react to be put in that prime position for the first time in their career. The moment was not too big for him. Like I said, he led Missouri on a game-winning touchdown drive. Unfortunately, Army, drove the length of the field and kicked the game-winning field goal, but you sure as hell can't put that on your starting quarterback.
Right.
And another big takeaway, I forgot how mobile he was, Shane. He had a big 30-yard touchdown run, and that is something that we'll get to here in just a second with Drink. Kind of talks up Brady Cook and his mobility, but man, this is the start of something, a little buzz here for the Missouri Tigers and getting the ball rolling, and just the fact that this is a Missouri kid who it just means. It's so cheesy, the SEC, it just means more, but I think it means more to be the starting quarterback for Missouri than it would for Brady Cook, than it would a lot of other players, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yesterday, after careful consideration, made the decision to name Brady Cook our starting quarterback. When we look at the starting quarterback position, we really evaluate 5 key things. We start with toughness, both mental and physical, the ability to perform at your full God-given ability regardless of the circumstance. And Brady, as well as all of the quarterbacks that we have demonstrated these 5 characteristics, but these are the things that we really evaluate. Preparation, spending the extra time, understanding not only the playbook, but the preparation of understanding your teammates, who they are, what are the matchups, are you spending time in the film room? Decision-making, when the ball is in your hand, what do you do? All right, we can coach you up all the way up until the ball is snapped, but you got to have a decision-making mechanism that you're going to take care of the football and take care of your team. And then accuracy, ball placement. There's no defense for the perfect throw, and so we got to have pinpoint accuracy right there. And then the last thing is leadership, which for us is set the example, and then bring others with you. All right, set the example of what it means to be a great teammate, but then you got to bring other people with you. And he never shied away from the competition. He kept working. He kept putting in those extra hours. Spent hours in the film room on Sunday, during the summer. Was here every Saturday with his teammates, leading, making sure we were throwing, making sure we were doing the things that we needed to do. It matters to him to be the starting quarterback at the University of Missouri, and I'm excited that he's our starting quarterback. I know I can lay my head on the pillow knowing that he's going to give us and all these fans in this state everything he's got. So with that, it's going to be his job. Like I told him last night, it's my job to get him to start it, and I've done that. He's earned it. It's up to him to finish. And it's up to him to finish the job at quarterback. And so,
Eli, I don't know if you had a time frame coming in for when you wanted to be settled on a guy, but did you make this decision sooner than you expected to at all?
Yeah, maybe so. I actually thought the competition was really good. We went live with everybody on Sunday. All the quarterbacks were live, and just felt like, really after Sunday, came back Monday, Brady had a really good day Sunday in that live scrimmage, taking hits, making plays with his feet, leading the offense on scoring drives. And then I thought he came back the next day and just had another good day, stacked some good days together. And at that point, I just felt like for us offensively and for this team to take the next step, let's solidify who our quarterback was, eliminate the questions and the indecision. And that's what they pay me to do. They pay me to make decisions, and so we made it, and we're going to move forward.
Behind Brady, will those guys keep competing? Is that an ongoing thing that could go on?
Yeah. I don't know if it'll go on all year, but absolutely, I think Sam Horn has done an excellent job since he's been here. I mean, he is a lot further ahead than I kind of expected, to be honest, coming out of, not being here and seeing a guy that just shows up in the summer and then gets his fall camp. But he still has his rookie moments, and so we're still letting him just grow into the best version of himself on a daily basis. trying to make sure that we get those young guys. There's a lot of really good young players on our team, but the thing they have to have is reps, reps, reps. So we're prioritizing at the end of every practice, making sure they get reps. You know, Tyler Macon has done everything we've asked him to do. And so has Jack, and both of those guys were disappointed. And I told them, if you weren't disappointed, you don't have the right kind of makeup to be the quarterback. And so they're absolutely disappointed. But they both bounced back today with really good energy and understand that this team's on a bigger mission. And I know both of those guys and all three of those guys will be ready if their number's called.
His ability there and that athleticism, I think, surprised a lot of people who maybe hadn't seen him play. I mean, was that something that you saw even his freshman year that, hey, this is something he's got?
Yeah, I mean, redheads are great athletes, man. I don't know why everybody's surprised by that. No, I think that's kind of when you look at his numbers in the weight room with Coach Russ, I mean, he's got a great vertical jump. He's one of the 15, maybe 20th fastest players on our teams. When you look at his 40 times, he's got incredible strength numbers. He works at everything you ask him to do. I mean, the dude's going to graduate with a degree in December in 3.5 years. I mean, and most people don't know this, but he graduated early. Chaminade had never let it happen before. He actually graduated, got his GED to come to school here and enroll early, and then they retroed back his degree from Chaminade. So like it means something for him to be here. So yeah, Mama Cook's not real happy about that story, but Jim was fine with it.
How about it, Shane? Redheads are great athletes, according to Old Drink.
Yeah, that's right. Big Red getting the starting position. This is what I love to hear, man. It's a success story, and this is one that maybe we look back here in a few games, and we're saying, you know what, this kid wanted it more, and that's kind of what I felt when Drink was talking here. Is this guy put the time in, and maybe he is setting an example for other players on that program that, hey, man, if you work hard enough, you will get an opportunity to play, because sometimes, these kids, they're told their whole lives how great they are, and they don't feel like they have to put in that extra step when they're in college, that it's just going to be given to them because it's been given to them. But it's not, man. And I love the fact that you reward hard play, you reward hard work, and this is. And who knows, man? I mean, it may play off on the field. I mean, I'd like to see this success story go. And we look back, and Mizzou had a great run in the SEC East. That who knows what's going to happen out of this? But if I got anything from this, especially when he's on a recruiting trail, says, hey, man, I understand you're a 3-star, or I understand you're a 2-star, but I'm going to give you an opportunity. And if you put in the work, you're going to have an opportunity to play here at the Tigers. And I think that speaks well. When he's in a living room talking to these parents, I know it sounds corny and it sounds cheesy, but, this means more to the parents than it does the actual players sometimes.
One final clip here I wanted to play from Drink, Shane. This truly is genius, so I really wanted to highlight it. I don't know if you've seen it, Shane, but Let Brady Cook is a hashtag that's popular right now with the Missouri fan base. and Drink kind of plays on that, talks about the business opportunities for their starting quarterback now. Let's kick it over one more time to Drink.
Did any of that surprise you at all? I mean, he went through a coaching change before he got here, and a lot of guys aren't sticking around through a lot of that in this day and age.
No, I mean, I think he's a great young man of character. Obviously, it's a tribute to his parents, who've done just a great job of raising him. Again, it means something for him to be here at the University of Missouri. And, man, I can't wait to see the restaurants line up for the Brady Cook endorsements.
All right, Shane, so why I really wanted to highlight this is obviously we're in a new era with the portal and the NIL and all that. Like, Drink, he does not reference NIL here, but that's clearly what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Can you imagine 5-10 years ago, we have a quarterback competition come to an end, and then the head coach is sitting here saying, now businesses, get in on this. And that's something, if I'm Missouri, I'm plastering that to all the recruits in the country that, hey, not only do we take care of you, but we are wise enough to say, now that you're the starting quarterback for the Missouri Tigers, you're a homegrown kid, let these businesses take advantage of that. And obviously the player's going to profit from that more than anybody. But I just think that's ingenious, Shane, to kind of get the ball rolling going into the season. Let Brady Cook. I mean, how many businesses are jumping at the opportunity to throw money at this kid now? And again, I just think it's a genius marketing and credit for the head coach to call attention to it.
Well, and I will say, man, there was a lot of talk in the offseason. The reason they didn't get some of these quarterbacks in the portal was because there wasn't those NIL opportunities. So,
right,
I like this. You gotta remind these boosters, hey, if we want to compete, if you want us to be good, we're going to need your help. So I think this is genius, and you got to get all the plugs and advertising you can get, because if everybody buys in up there in Columbia, then they truly can they truly can compete in the East,
Right, and just if you're looking at it from a business's perspective, Shane, it's like, do you give the money to Cook? Do you give it to Tyler Macon? Do you give it to Jack Abram? Do you give it to the star freshman Sam Horn?
Yeah.
You don't know which one's going to be a good investment. And this is just Drinkwitz saying, well, hell, here's your answer right here. This is the guy that's going to be on the field making the plays. So go ahead and hand him some money. And again, I think it's a tremendous idea to plug a player, so to speak, right after he wins a competition. And I would think if you're a Missouri Tiger, hell, who knows? They all want to see the field. They're all fighting for competition. Yeah. But when they know that their damn coach is going to come out here and say, businesses, support this guy with NIL right after they win a job. I mean, if that don't motivate you, nothing will. You know what I mean?
Well, and I didn't know how this conversation was going to go. When we found out the news, I fully was expecting, well, it's still a competition and blah, 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 the same old coach speak. Mm-hmm. I just love the confidence that Eli came out with. This is my guy. This is his job to lose. And that I just think that speaks volumes to the confidence they have in Cook, man.
Mm-hmm. All right, Shane, next let's kick it on down to Tuscaloosa, where old Nick Saban met with the media here recently, and I'm getting a new version of Saban, Shane. I mean, well, last year was kind of the new Saban. It was soft. It was not calling anybody out. And I think maybe he thought in the back of his mind, this is how I've got to handle this team. We got to kind of teach them with kid gloves, so to speak, because we got a first-year quarterback, because we have so many inexperienced players. But that ain't the case anymore in Tuscaloosa. And I think that's why we'll get to Saban's comments here in a minute, but this is 2 pressers in a row, Shane, where this guy's coming out firing. He's talking about calling people out for the rebuild comments, and now he's got Larry Fitzgerald down here teaching these players that you have to put in the work, you have to love the process, and he says we need everybody to be that way, which says to me that he's not fully satisfied with the effort the players are putting in, and they're the only ones that are going to stop themselves from winning a championship. So let's kick it over to Saban, Shane, Larry Fitzgerald's message to the team, as well as I just thought this was great, where he's sitting here saying, well, we got one All-American versus another All-American going head-to-head. They get better. They all win awards, and it's just goodness. I mean, this was a recruiting plug if there ever was one, too.
So, we had a really interesting speaker last night, Larry Fitzgerald, and he made a point that I've never really ever thought of. And one of the players asked him is, how did you stay motivated when you had so much success for so long? And he said, I love the process. I love watching film. I love to practice. I caught extra balls before practice. I ran routes with the quarterback after practice. I love the process. And then when the game came, it was really, really easy. So, that's kind of interesting, because some of our best players, some of our really good players that we've had here traditionally in the past, that's exactly how they were. And that's exactly how a lot of the guys on our team right now that are really good players, that's how they are. But we need to have everybody be that way. We don't need anybody trying to get out of drills or practicing or whatever. And if they love the process of what it takes not to win a game, but to do the things you need to do to be able to win a game, All right, not to do the things, not just think about being a starter, but what do you do to be a starter? What does a starter act like? How does a starter practice? How does a starter go about being responsible to do his job? And I think that was a really good message, and I think it's a message that, and Larry made a point of this, that it's the same thing in your life. Being a good parent, being a good husband, doing a good job in whatever it is you do. So it was kind of interesting, but I get asked a lot. I never ever thought of this. How do you stay motivated? And I never really could answer it, but I love the process. I love practicing. I like getting ready for practice. I like coaching the players on the field, trying to get them to play as good as they can be so we have the best chance. They have the best chance to be successful. We have the best chance to be successful. So hopefully we can get a whole team full of guys getting ready to do that.
How have you helped or seen the defense be helped by defending him in practice?
I think everybody is helped by the quality of players that we have on offense and defense. Patrick Surtain would probably tell you, I covered Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy, Smitty, Jalen Waddle, every day in practice for 3 years. How many guys did I play against in a game that was any better than those guys, based on where they got drafted and all that and how much production they had? So I think, iron sort of sharpens iron at every position. Cam Robinson won the Outland Trophy playing left tackle around here, and the guy playing right end, he won the Nagurski, Jonathan Allen. They practice against each other every day for 3 years. So it helps everybody get better when you have good players. Jahmyr Gibbs plays at a different speed. He breaks contain on the defense because that's good for the defense. So when we play against a good back that has great speed, maybe we can keep leverage on him better. So it not only helps Henry, it probably helps everybody on the defensive team. And I think it helps at every position that players get challenged in practice and they have to do things correctly and create good habits so they have the best chance to be successful when a game comes. Is that it? So I'm supposed to smile and say thank you.
All right, Chase. So, hey, a nicer, smiling Saban up here. What are your thoughts on that?
You think Terry told him to do that before he got out there?
Of
He's
course.
in the back. If you're going to have an oatmeal cream pie, you better give me a smile up there at the podium. No, I think this is awesome. Not too often is Nick Saban stumped. And it felt like he was a little bit off-kiltered here, a little bit lost of words, He sounded a little bit like Cousin Shane there for a minute. Just, I could see the words moving around in my head. I just can't catch them sometimes. And I think he was just dumbfounded by, why does he keep going? Why does he keep pushing? Why does he, I've referenced this interview a million times, man, with Charles Barkley, and it's like, it now seems kind of fake. It's almost like he had an aha moment, like, that's why I do it, because I love the process. I love the practices, he says. I love getting up. I love getting out here with these guys. I think it keeps him young, Mike. You know what I'm saying? I think
Right.
There's a lot of things that Saban enjoys about the process, and he just now realized it. And who better to tell them than one of the all-time greatest wide receivers to ever play in the NFL?
Yeah, and even the GOAT, Shane. I mean, he needs motivation from time to time. I've not read the book yet. It just came out, but old John Talty down there of AL.com, I know he's been plugging it like crazy. Been on Feinbaum, but apparently, Shane, I don't know if you've heard this yet, but there was a story where right after the Kick 6 game back in, what would that have been, 2013. Saban was basically 1 foot out the door at Alabama, and he was going to go be a game day Lee Corso for ESPN.
Yeah,
but
I didn't hear that. Yeah,
obviously that didn't happen, and he's found his passion to keep kicking ass down there at Alabama. But I just make that point because even the greatest of all time, at times, even he's maybe looking towards what's next and where his career could go. But it's lessons like this from legends like Larry Fitzgerald that are going to resonate more than anything else with a lot of these elite players on the team down there.
You know, and what's crazy, man, the first thing when I saw him make that little joke, because that little 10-second, video went viral, and I just thought, man, here it is. Here's the greatest of all time. And I know there's stories about the cheats, and I mean, that's with every head coach. You're going to have those little asterisks underneath them, but the fact of the matter is, nobody is doing it like Nick Saban, and I don't know if anyone ever will. And you can't help but wonder, man, there will come a time, what does it look like 10, 15 years, 20 years from now when you're telling your grandkids about Nick Saban? You know what I'm saying? It's just you forget that you are in a timeline right now, and you are getting to witness one of the all-time greatest to do it. And this is a coach that will – I mean, think about how many people talk about Bryant and how many people talk about Nealon and Fulmer and,
Spurrier.
all these Spurrier and all these great coaches that have coached at different programs, storied programs. And then it almost becomes like too distant for some of these young kids. And it's just, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm getting older and more sentimental or whatever it is, but I'm just watching and I'm like, man, this will never be repeated, and it's just awesome to be a part. I mean, honestly, I wish he was coaching my team, because the story would be even cooler. But the fact that we're getting to witness one of the all-time greatest do it, it blows my mind. And he's still learning, man. He learned today that he loved the process, and he learns that from a receiver that a fourth his age.
Right. I don't know if you're a fan of The Office, Shane, but like. Andy from The Office says, I wish there was a way to know you were in the good old days while you're in them. But Alabama fans, you are in the good old days right now. So soak it all up because you got a legend coaching your football team. You know what?
Absolutely. And I probably should have fact checked the age thing. He's 38, so we'll say, a third, not a fourth.
All right, Shane, next let's kick it over there to Fayetteville. Where Sam Pittman just wrapped up the latest spring practice down there. They're going to have a scrimmage this weekend, I believe, in Fayetteville to get things going as they inch closer to the upcoming season. But, it's interesting, Shane, because how could the Arkansas Razorbacks not be hearing all the hype? The coaches poll just came out. We covered that earlier in the week. Razorbacks are ranked in that thing. That's got to be the first time that Arkansas is ranked in the preseason. And as long as I can remember, I can't remember the last time Arkansas, they're always a program that has to kind of prove themselves to the pollsters, but not anymore, not under Sam Pittman. So there's a growing confidence, not only within the program, but within the fan base. That's something Sam Pittman hits on here. And KJ Jefferson, just how he won over the team, he won over the fans. Hell, he won over the state, says Sam Pittman last season. And that's just growing this fall in training camp. And one little nugget I thought was interesting, Shane. We talked up the Arkansas Razorback receivers on the last episode. One guy we didn't talk about, Warren Thompson, who has made some big plays in his career there for the Razorbacks. Sam Pittman says this is the most improved player on the football team. He's making catches. Sam Pittman's sitting here saying, how in the hell did he catch that ball? So, hey, we may have something here with this group. So let's kick it over to Sam Pittman.
First come here, they were coming off 2-10 and with 3-7. And I've noticed, doing this for quite a while, but other people have commented, it seems like there's a confidence among the players and the team this year that seems like it's real confidence. I mean, have you noticed that? I mean, it feels like it's real.
Yeah, I think so. I think probably means there's more people that believe in the team. There's probably a few more, hopefully there's a few more fans and there's a few more players and all that. But yeah, I think there's a quiet confidence. That's kind of what you want when you're what you might call an underdog, or, there's a confidence of we need to show people. And that's kind of what we're about. But yeah, I feel that about our squad as well.
course, I guess 9-4 doesn't hurt that, does it?
Yeah.
You know,
No, well, I think if you beat some teams that, maybe we've struggled in the past of doing that, or beat some teams that they beat 10, 11 years ago, whatever that may be, then I think that always helps with your confidence.
We've talked a lot in camp about KJ kind of growing as a leader, but I wondered if there was a particular moment that you saw that happen, a conversation, or when that switch kind of maybe flipped.
I think probably the second half of the Rice game is when, he was our leader, but is when he kind of took the team over, and then you take that and add to the Texas game, and that's whenever he won everybody. He won the fans, the state, the team, me. I mean, he already had me, but he really had me after that game. But he's such a likable kid, and he's not a let's go back the other way. He's a quarterback that is a running back. He's got a mentality of physicality about him, a little bit to a fault, when he gets in the open field. But you can't, it's hard to take that away from him. But I think the team likes him because he's in the physicality of practice now. I mean, of games. Obviously practice he's not, but in games he's part of that tough part of our football team, and a big part of that.
Also, Warren Thompson in one-on-ones, he got the best of Hudson Clark a couple times. I'm curious. I feel like we haven't talked about him as much as we have maybe Landers or Hazelwood. Just what have you seen from him now that he's in year 2 with Arkansas?
As improved as anybody. He was a guy to this point now, and I think it'll continue. I think he's in a really good space. I think he's comfortable. I think he went through a year last year where he didn't know if he wanted to be here, go home, but who's my friends? He had a lot of things going on, I think, last year. You had to talk to him, but I think he's in a good space. He's always been very talented, but he's catching the contested ball and catching some. You go, man, how did he catch that one? And he's always been fast. He hadn't always used it, but he is now. So I've been really pleased with him. You have to ask KJ about it. I think KJ looks for him now.
But how about it, Shane? I mean, the Razorbacks got reason to be confident. And how does that change anything? That, the Razorbacks now, they still have to prove a lot of people wrong, I would think. But
yeah,
you're going into a season completely different than how you have under, it's basically the first year they had to prove they weren't the worst team of all time. As sad as that is to say. I mean, people were suggesting that. And then last season it was, I think they were picked 6th, 7th in the West. So it was like any win was a surprise to a lot of people outside of that building. Now they're coming into a season where fan expectation, not necessarily to win the West or anything like that, even though, there's a chance of that. The expectation is to compete every Saturday. It doesn't matter who you're lining up against, because you've got the best Arkansas team in recent history.
Yeah. No, I mean, well, this is a rabid fan base, This is a group. I think the expectations that's what it all boils down to. They get more and more, every single season, and they're pretty damn lofty right now, Mike. There's a lot of fans out there that think that this is the year that they have an opportunity to win a West. When you think it's Alabama, it's Texas A&M, and then it's Arkansas. You know what I'm saying? So it's no more. It's still a climb, and that part is always fun to watch them grow. But this is a group that's got a Heisman candidate for quarterback. This is a group that's got a lot of returning talent coming back. So a lot of people decided not to go to the NFL so that they can go one more time. So, those expectations, that adds a little bit. But But it also makes it easier when you're recruiting a kid to your school, and you can say, hey man, this is what we're expecting, and you're the final piece that we need. So I think there's ebbs and flows, man. There's goods and bads, and I think right now we're still in a good phase because I haven't lost one yet.
Yeah, and I really do think, Shane, when you hit the practice field, when you're a program like Arkansas that's on the rise, I mean, you have to be able to sense, the roster's getting so much better, the depth's getting better. Hell, the big question for months was, well, can this receiver core, who are they going to throw the ball to?
Yeah.
And now we're sitting here saying, well, they got 5, 6, 7 receivers. I mean, it's like that. I'm not calling them Alabama, but that's what you expect at Alabama and Georgia, is just for the next generation to step up and assert themselves across the board. And it seems like what we perceive as weaknesses, incredibly maybe strengths for the Arkansas Razorbacks. And that's what it takes to take that next step up in the SEC. Is you can't have any glaring weaknesses. You got to be able to be balanced, and you got to be able to be tough as hell, like Sam Pittman thinks his latest Razorback team is.
Yeah, and Sam's, relatively new head coach, but he's not new to the industry. He knows exactly what he has on that roster and what they need to work on and what maybe they don't need to work on as much. So I don't know. The more I see Sam and the better moods he's in, the better I feel about this program, because if he was really worried about expectations, he'd seem a little bit more nervous at the podium.
Well, speaking of high expectations, Shane, let's kick it on down to College Station. Ooh, Jimbo had a little glimmer in his eye on this one, Shane. I hope you guys are watching on YouTube. We'll get to these comments in a minute. But when he was asked about old Haynes King getting back to 100%, like I said, there legitimately seems to be a glimmer in the man's eye. He's smiling from ear to ear. Haynes King getting a lot of reps in practice with the ones, although he kind of downplays that narrative. But I don't know. This may be a little bit tailing on who Jimbo's looking at as his starting quarterback. What do you think?
You think these coaches pinch themselves before they make it out there on the field, just like, am I really here? Because I tell you, every time they come up, they're just so damn excited about their program, and that makes me better because I've got a lot of money riding on them. So keep going, Jimbo.
So, yeah, let's kick it over to Jimbo Shays, who even kind of, I don't want to say downplays the hype with Evan Stewart, but I think the reporter tried to get him a little bit, and he says, "Nah, I've seen this before." He shares a little bit on, like I said, Haynes King, Max Johnson, Connor Wigman, and then, 2020, that magical season, they really did assert themselves. They out-physicaled people. They just ran a gauntlet in the SEC. How do we get back to that in College Station? Jimbo hits on all that here.
Jimbo, Evan Stewart's just been coming on so strong throughout practice, and even though he's been here throughout the spring,
how do you know that? You ain't been out there.
I've seen it a few times. Have you seen?
You got a spy out there? You said, hey,
15 minutes.
Somewhere. We got spies somewhere.
Have you ever seen a receiver be able to pick up the speed of the college football as quickly as he has in your system?
Yes.
What is it about him that you just really like then?
He's waiting for me to say, no, I screwed you up. But I have. I mean, there's been guys that have and started since they were freshmen and things. But at the same time, it is very difficult. It's very hard. And it takes a level. You think, okay, boy, he's really gifted. But more importantly, how mature is he? How well does he learn? How well does he adapt? How well does he, adapt to failures? Because as a young guy, you're going to have failures and things. And I think from that standpoint, he does a really good job. And I think it's you got to make sure that, you don't, as quickly as he's done things and had good success, you got to still remember he is a freshman and make sure when we're coaching him and how we coach him and we make sure we're dotting I's, crossing T's, and making sure we don't get out of that framework of keeping him in that realm. But at the same time, he's got to go play, and he's doing that. So I've had guys do it, but he is definitely, and I think his maturity, his drive, his intelligence, his ability to comprehend, and his ability to adapt and adjust as you learn the things on defense. Not just, all right, you learn what you do on offense, but how does it fit to inside leverage, outside leverage, bracket coverage, zone coverage, man coverage, how how plays can change based off of that. And I think his comprehension of football in general, along with his overall intelligence, allows him to have success early.
This one. So there was there's a couple of national reports that Haynes has taken the lead in the quarterback competition. So
and he's getting more reps with the one. Someone said. I mean, I did hear somebody says Haynes. Somebody asked was Haynes? I said no. They're taking they rotate days and take exactly the same number.
Next question.
And then
no. I mean, we're rotating guys and they're doing the same thing. So no.
Okay. David,
Jimbo, and kind of going back to that quarterback room, from a learning standpoint, how do you feel like the process has been for Max and Connor both?
They understand it really well. They both do, and Connor's picked it up very quickly for a young freshman. I mean, he's a very intelligent guy, very instinctive guy, and very rarely does the same. You know, if he makes a mistake, he doesn't repeat it very often. You know what I'm saying? And what he's doing. So very encouraging in that way in development. And Max is doing a lot of the same thing.
And then for Haynes, physically, I mean, has he been able to take off at all this practice? You're allowing him to do that?
He's back as far as that part of it, the physical parts of what he can do. And throwing in no pain, no anything, no pain-free, whether he throws it, whether he runs it, whether he stands out there. You know what I mean? He's coming off his surgeries, and his strength is back in the everything around the injury. So I feel very good about that.
What's up? Fourth row.
In 2020, y'all overwhelmed opponents in fourth quarters for the especially down the stretch of the season.
We finished.
Okay.
Exactly right.
Yeah, last year that didn't happen. So how do you get back to that?
Back to basics and point it out and make it adamant, and not just fourth quarter, starting games. Listen, we had there was a couple games last year we got overwhelmed in the beginning. We didn't play offensively and gave up a lot of points defensively, and that has effect too. You don't ever win games in the first 5 minutes, but you can lose them and start yourself having a heck of a hard time coming back. You know what I'm saying? Set the temperament. So I mean, starting, finishing, emphasizing, coaching it, and when you see it, point it out. When you stop, hey, at the end of practice, we're not finishing like we do. Make it adamant, make it a point, and you grade it. You calculate it every day. All the things in what you see in practice.
Conditioning play a role in that as well?
Nah, I don't think it had anything to do with conditioning. It can, but that wasn't our issues. Our issues wasn't conditioning.
All right, Coach. Thanks.
And who the hell's been spying on practice?
But yeah, I know the Aggie fans are going to eat these comments, Shane. But I know as someone that's put money on them Aggies, this has got to make you happy too, huh?
It does, man. It does. I'm not a diehard Aggie fan. I don't know all their chants. I don't even understand why they do some of the things they do. But I am excited about this program. I'm excited about the depth. I'm excited even my coach coming out here, talking about quarterbacks. It's like he's got a pair of aces, and you ever play poker with somebody that doesn't know how to play poker? That's what it feels like. It's just like, damn, I'm folding if Jimbo's he's over giddy as a 2-year-old.
All right, last little team here, Shane. Let's kick it over down to Baton Rouge. Brian Kelly met with the media on Thursday, and a little bit of bad news. It doesn't sound anything bad or anything, Shane, but Garrett Nussmeier had a ankle sprain, missed practice. Now, they do think he'll be back for the weekend. They got some scrimmages coming up, but maybe that, throws a little wrench into the quarterback competition that it sounds like Jaden Daniels getting some reps with the one. So that's pretty interesting to see where that's going. But how about this, Shane? Maybe I just have not been paying attention like I should, but I thought LSU was kind of going a little bit slow in recruiting under Brian Kelly. They had missed on several elite in-state prospects. Of course, everybody knows Arch Manning and Alabama's quarterback commit, Eli Holstein. He is also from Louisiana. So, they're missing on some key guys, and you're saying, well, what the hell? This is LSU. They're supposed to be recruiting like gangbusters. Well, you turn around, Shane, they land the number 4 receiver in the country, 5-star receiver Shelton Sampson. And then today they landed a 4-star quarterback, Ricky Collins, the number 13 quarterback. And by God, they got the number 6 recruiting class in the country. So it's just business as usual. It doesn't matter who the coach is down there. Of course,
they'll be fine, I say. I do declare they'll be fine, Mike.
I kid. I know Brian Kelly. Hell, he recruited well at Notre Dame, so he's going to recruit elite on an elite level at LSU. But, man, I was a little bit stunned when I saw that number 6 in the country. I thought they were in the teens.
Yeah, you can never count out LSU. It don't matter who's down there, and that's also gonna. I think that amps up real quick toward the tail end of the season.
Yeah.
Once they can see the product, once they can see what Kelly's going to be doing with these Tigers, and because LSU's going to win some big games this year, Mike. I truly believe it that they're going to pop up and they're going to catch a few programs off guard, and we're going to look back and say, man, year 2 with Kelly in this system, watch out for them. I mean, they'll be a easy top 25 next year. So
Yeah.
this is a build, this is a rebuild. But the beautiful thing about LSU is you don't have to wait too long, because a lot of these kids grew up wanting to play there regardless of who's coaching.
Right. Yeah, interesting comments here, Shane, from Brian Kelly on the opener and what he could be learning about his team. And then on the quarterback situation, Jaden Daniels getting some reps with the ones. Let's kick it over to Brian Kelly.
New Orleans, you kind of alluded to that your recruiting was about to get on the right trail. Your crew of recruits, you're kind of on a heater right now the last few months. Is that because the coaches have kind of got into the territory and kind of got in the homes more? What can you point to that it's gotten pretty well for y'all?
Yeah. We really didn't get the opportunity to, develop the strong relationships until, the February, March recruiting period. And so we had to make up for lost time, putting a staff together, in January and February, and you have a very short period of time to build those relationships. And so I just think this is, the continuation of those relationships starting to form. And I think we did a really good job. I think, J.R. Benton did a great job, and his staff, of putting together visits in June, which allowed us to really sink those relationships deeper. And I think we're starting to see, that work come out.
We take anything from the fact that Daniels took most of the first team reps today, that maybe there is any separation going on, or not yet?
Not yet. No, I think that you have a very competitive situation still going on. As we mentioned, Nuss would have been in there taking, first team reps as well. Miles continues to, Miles is as effective and as smart as any quarterback. And Walker Howard, he continues to, for a freshman, amaze me in terms of what his knowledge base is and the strength of his arm. So, no, we're not ready to kind of change our thought process relative to who's getting what reps at this point.
Coach, in the past here, those openers have been, against good teams, have been real barometers as far as how the season turns out. Do you think that those are critical as you try to sell your program, not only to everyone, that you put your best foot forward in something like that, or do you think that's a little overstated?
I always think that the opener is a little bit overstated in terms of what your team looks like moving forward. They're all important, right? Winning a championship requires you to win those games, right? But I think it's how you play, in the opener that's more important. It's how you play, and you want to win the game. There's no doubt about it. That's absolutely crucial. But I think it's how you play the game that's most important. And that, to me, has always been the barometer for what your team will look like as you move through the season. I think I get a better sense in that opener about how you play the game as to how you finish the season than what maybe the scoreboard looks like at the end of the day.
But yeah, hey, Shane, if you didn't come in with this resume that Brian Kelly has, you'd maybe say, well, what the hell is he talking about? We got to beat the hell out of Florida State in the opener. But he knows what he's doing. He's the winningest football coach in college football actively right now, if you consider his run at Grand Valley State. But what are your thoughts on his comments here?
that's kind of how I took it there, Mike, was like, hey, don't worry about the scoreboard. It's just I think they're expecting to whoop some ass here. That's maybe that's me. I don't know. Maybe I'm playing devil's advocate here. It's just like he's like, yeah, I know we got this one in the bag, but I want to see how bad we got it, how bad we want it. You know what I'm saying? He wants to see just how hard these kids are playing, because it's all fun and games in practice, but when the lights come on and it's the real deal, man, that's when you find out. That's when you find your team, and I think that's, Kelly can put the best places, and he's probably going to be moving. You're going to see moving pieces all game long against Florida State. But I'm telling you right now, it's the true scrimmage for him to find out how this roster shapes up for the remainder of the season.
Well, buddy, hey, we've had a loaded week of shows.
Yeah.
So let's cut it off here before we ramble on for any more hours here. But you got anything before we hop off the line?
No, you're going to be editing quite a bit today here, Mike, because I was all over the place. Later we go, man. And this is, I'll tell you whose fault it is. It's Sam Pittman, coming up there late, with his shirt untucked and, 2 beers in. Just kidding, but no, I'm excited, man. I mean, we got our first football weekend, brother. And what's exciting though is the scrimmages coming up this weekend. We're going to start getting some separation.
Yeah,
we're going to start seeing that depth chart unfold, and that's what I'm excited about. Of course, I'm just always excited, especially when football's in the air, man. And I even like the new music, man. I want kudos to Crimson Calamity for sending us a few new hits, because I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on that, and it just sounds good. So everything, man. It's just times are changing, man. Look at us now.
Yeah, we're gearing up for the season. We had to switch it up a little bit. I hope the fans appreciated it. And as always, man, I've been sending these koozies out. Sent about another 20 today. Give us that 5-star written review on the Apple Podcast app, on Spotify. Subscribe on YouTube, and we'll send you a beer koozie free of charge. Just mail those on over to that secpodcast@gmail.com. But that's going to do it, brother. I appreciate you as always. I appreciate each and every one of you for making this show what it is. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right. See you guys. Go Vols. I'm going to have to do some more research on this ice box here. I think I may have found another one back in the back. That's